So you've heard of the word Caucasian. It's the term generally used to refer to white people. But that kind of begs the question, why do we call them Caucasian? Is there a Caucasia? And if so, do all Caucasian people come from this speculative Caucasia? There's a lot to unpack with that question, and that's what we're going to do in this episode. Let's have a Geogra talk. Hey guys, I'm your host Barbs, and today we're filming in my room because my mom's making kimbap in the dining room right now where I usually film. I'm not even joking, Mom made it. Oh my god, I love this stuff. I'm gonna eat it right now. Mom, why are you always watching Chinese soap operas?
Interesting about their cultural.
Oh my goodness gracious, what do I have here? I am wearing a Geography Now t-shirt and I have a Geography Now mug, of which it's fourth you can get at geographynow.com. Check out the website, we got a lot of cool merch, we got drawstring bags, we got hoodies, we got mugs. Get whatever you want, do whatever you want with the merch after you get it, I don't care. Put it on a pedestal or throw it in a dumpster fire, I don't care. It's your merch, not mine. And as I always say, it is not selling out if it's your brand. So, back to the question of this video. Why do we say Caucasian, and is there a Caucasia? Well, to answer that question, we kind of have to go back in time and understand why we even use that word. And spoiler alert, it's kind of an outdated term that we probably shouldn't be using, but you know, people be lazy. So, one thing people have always recognized throughout history is that people look different. Shocker. But the funny thing is, throughout ancient times, people weren't so hyper-fixated on people's biological race as much as they were rather more fixated on your mutable characteristics like your language, culture, or religion. From there, the colors kind of just meshed and people didn't really care that much. It's interesting. The ancient Greeks considered anybody who wasn't Greek a barbaroi or barbarian. This even included light-skinned people like Scythians or interior European peoples. It didn't matter. If you were not Greek, you were barbaroi. In Rome, you were either a citizen, ally, foreigner, or slave. And oftentimes they would enslave Germanic, Brittonic, Greek, North African, and Syrian peoples. I mean, that's not to say that ancient peoples didn't understand and recognize the physical differences between peoples. For example, Greek historian Herodotus described the Ethiopians as tall, very dark-skinned, and handsome. Roman historian Tacitus described Germans as tall, blonde, blue-eyed, and wild and warlike. In medieval times, Mongols were described as small-eyed, broad-cheeked, and monstrous, almost to amplify a sense of fear, which, I mean, when you're getting attacked by the Mongols, it's kind of understandable. But throughout most of ancient history, your biological race wasn't so much important as it was as your ideological attributes. I mean, sure, maybe your tribe or clan also kind of played in as well, which I guess also factors into your biological lineage. But like even then, tribes and clans usually intermarried and intermingled with outsiders and made babies with each other, usually as a form of like alliance building. So even then, the tribe or clan concept wasn't so insanely fixated on your immediate biological race. It wasn't until much later that we started to kind of compartmentalize people in these visual distinction categories, aka races. Long story short, after the Industrial Revolution, people had a bit more time to kind of observe the more intricate, subtle details of the world rather than just, you know, growing potatoes to survive. And in the late 1700s, this guy, a German anthropologist named Johann Friedrich Blumenbach, tried to classify humans into races, and he had 5 groups. And he used the word Caucasian for peoples of Europe, West Asia, and North Africa. Why did he choose that word? Well, it was incredibly subjective and speculative, but what he did was he looked at the skulls of peoples from all over Europe, West Asia, and North Africa, and he concluded that skulls from the Caucasus region, specifically in what is now the country of Georgia, had the closest resemblance to all the minute features found in the majority of all the skulls he observed, and it had the most symmetry and ideal form. Therefore, he concluded that Europeans, or at the very least, light pigmented peoples, must have originated from the Caucasus region. So congratulations, Georgia. According to this 18th century pseudoscience German guy, I guess you guys are the OG white people. Anyhow, now, despite the fact that later his findings were proven incorrect, you know, the whole Africa migration theory. Actually, now there's like an Asian migration theory. I don't even want to get into that. But anyway, the point is, the word Caucasian was propagated from the 18th and 19th century publications, and today we just still use it because we're lazy. That being said, is there actually a Caucasia? Well, if you zoom in on the map in the areas between the Black and Caspian Seas, you find this incredibly picturesque transcontinental mountainous region transitioning between what is geographically Eastern Europe and Western Asia. This is one of the most demographically extreme places on Earth because it has one of the highest concentration of native ethno-linguistic groups at somewhere around 50 in an area about the size of Cameroon or Sweden, for my Americans, California. There's no specific defined line or boundaries on what constitutes Caucasia, but it's generally understood to be the areas around the Caucasus Mountains. Today, the Caucasus is divided into 4 separate sovereign nations: Russia, Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan, with 2.5-ish disputed autonomous areas. I'll explain that later. And furthermore, divided into 4 main ethno-linguistic peoples. However, only 2 have ancient native roots to the area. The ethno-linguistic families are the Caucasian peoples, the Indo-European peoples, the Turkic, and one small Mongolic group, the Kalmyks, depending on how far you want to stretch the line of Caucasia. And today, I will break down the 4 ethno-linguistic family groups of Caucasia. I'm going to give you like a general overview and list out some of the biggest ones. I don't have time to do all 50. That would make this video way too long, okay? So with that, let's start with the oldest and most notable, appropriately named namesake group, the Caucasian peoples. These are the first known inhabitants of the Caucasus region. They date back to at least Neolithic times. Now, just keep in mind, Caucasian is just a geographic term. It's not an ethno-linguistic term. A lot of these people are not even related to each other. They're just all within the same general geographic area. So within the Caucasian peoples, it breaks down to a few distinct people groups. First off, you have the Kartvelian peoples, made out of 4 language groups: the Svan, Mingrelian, Laz, and the largest one you may already know of, the Georgian peoples. Although keep in mind, Georgian is just the Anglophone name. It's actually, they call themselves Sakartvelo. Kartvelian. It makes sense, you know? Anyway, all of the languages have some degree of mutual intelligibility, and they're all written with the Georgian or the Mkhredruli script. It's phonetic, so each letter makes a sound, and it was actually the alphabet that inspired the Elfish language from Lord of the Rings. Fun fact. Kartvelians are majority Christian, usually falling in the Georgian Orthodox faith, which is part of the larger Eastern Orthodox Church, just like Greeks. I've been to Georgia. I'm just going to stay straight up from my personal experience. Georgia is such an underrated country, I swear. Oh my god, I love khachapuri ajara. I could eat that stuff 24/7/11. Batumi is an amazing city. The buildings with the lights and everything, it looks crazy. They have natural hot springs. And Georgia is home to Borjomi water, the most healing water on earth. Look, I'm just saying, this stuff could probably cure cancer and everything. I'm like, when you drink this stuff, you feel the heal. That should be their logo. Feel the heal. Oh, I swear, I could drink this stuff 24/7/11. All right, next up, the Circassians. These people are typically in the northern parts of the Caucasus Mountains, the largest ones being the Adige, Cherkess, and Kabardin, found in the Adige, Karachay-Cherkessia, and Kabardino-Balkaria republics of the Russian Federation. And then a slight more distant cousin of them are the Abkhaz peoples, which are in the Abkhazia area, which is disputed with Georgia. Circassian peoples, I actually did a short video on these people, but they're very, very, very unique peoples. These people have a very deep, rich history and culture. A lot of them were sent out into diaspora during Russian imperial times, and so that's why you find a lot of Circassian people in like Turkey and the Middle East. In fact, I think there's a lot of like elite high members of society in Egypt that have Circassian roots. It's crazy. A lot of amazing, cool looking dances. A lot of, you know, the straight postured men and women, and then the women look like they're floating, and the men do the weird spinning and crazy jumping things, and it looks really cool. They wear those like traditional costumes with the bullet pockets. I know all of the Caucasus people follow the same like traditional clothing with the bullet pockets, and the women with the colorful gowns or whatever. And the Abkhaz people, so Abkhazia is sort of like a self-proclaimed independent state that broke away from the country of Georgia. You do have to pass through a border checkpoint in order to enter their area from Georgia. They have their own currency. They have their own government. Legally, under the UN, they are recognized as an autonomous part of Georgia, but that's a whole other thing. Today, only Russia recognizes Abkhazia. Anyway, from there, if you go further east, closer to the Caspian Sea, you get the Dagestani group. You've probably heard of this one, all the memes, you know, send him to Dagestan, 2-3 years, forget. You know, that's this place, Dagestan, yes. The Dagestan Republic within the Russian Federation. So it's a part of Russia, but they have their own kind of autonomous rulership, they have their own, you know, government and so on and so forth. But yeah, Dagestan is the most ethno-linguistically diverse place in all of the Russian Federation. Here, there are over 30 native groups and 81 nationalities all found within this one part of Russia. But yeah, of the native 30 groups, the largest ones are the Avars, Dargins, Lezgins, and Laks. Avars alone make up about 1/4 of the entire population of Dagestan. So, by the way, no, they are not the same as the Avars that were from the Pannonian Basin in Hungary. Those were Central Asian peoples. Same name, different people, okay? Just want to make that distinction. Dagestani people, some Eastern Orthodox, but majority Muslim. These people have very, very distinct cultural tropes and traditions. And one thing, when I think of Dagestan, the one thing I think of are those really wide shoulder padded cloaks. Oh, those things from Dagestan. I want to get one of those sheepskin cloaks. Those are so cool. I want to get one of those. And finally, within the Circassian category, you have the Venakh peoples. These include the Chechen and Ingush peoples found in the Ingushetia and Chechnya republics of Russia. You've probably heard of these, especially Chechen peoples. They've been in the news and anything when it comes to like Russian conflicts and everything. The Chechen peoples, majority Muslim, again, very distinct people group. Chechens, Ingushetians, they're basically cousins of each other. There you go. Now we move on to the next oldest people group, the Indo-European peoples. Basically, they migrated northwards into the Caucasus during the Bronze Age-ish era. The largest of this group are the Armenians. You've probably heard of them. They inhabit mostly the areas of what is now the country of Armenia, plus a few of the surrounding areas. They have a whole dispute with Azerbaijan over the Nagorno-Karabakh / Artsakh place. They call it Artsakh. They call it Nagorno-Karabakh. Same area. And I'm not going to get into that because it's too complicated right now. And now there's like a corridor they're trying to make a deal with whatever. I don't know. But yeah, Armenia. So Armenians are the largest Indo-European groups. Other than Armenians though, then you have the Iranic people groups. This is a unique one. These are the peoples that have Persian-based languages, similar to, Persian or Farsi in Iran. There's a small number of Talish in the southern tip of Azerbaijan by the border of Iran. And then there's the Ossetians. Ossetians live in the breakaway area of South Ossetia, which is internationally recognized as an autonomous region of Georgia, but they consider themselves a separate country or possibly a unit that could be annexed into Russia, because that's a whole other complicated story. South Ossetia, they are Iranic peoples, but they are mostly Orthodox in their religion. They're Christians. Yeah, so Ossetian peoples, very unique culture with them as well. Oh my, I kind of want to do a more deep dive. Maybe I should do a short video about the Ossetians, because there's North Ossetia and there's South Ossetia. North Ossetia and Russia, they're basically the same people, but yeah, and then it goes into the Russian. Anyway, yeah, that's so Ossetians, Iranic Christian peoples in a breakaway state in South Ossetia, which is the part that is recognized. Yeah, you get the point. All right, Armenians and Iranic peoples, those are the Indo-Europeans of the Caucasus. Then we have the next group of people that came in, the Turkic peoples. The earliest Turkic peoples came into the Caucasus region during the Göktürk Khaganate during the 4th century AD. And by the 7th century, they had pretty much established a firmly controlled grasp over the area. Over time, these Turkic groups kind of branched off and created new cousin Turkic groups. And today, the largest one are the Azeris or Azerbaijanis, especially the ones that live in Azerbaijan. Keep in mind, there are also Azeris that live in Iran. And there's a whole complicated debate. I swear to God, it's every time I talk to Azerbaijani people from Azerbaijan, they say, no, we are Turkic. But when I talk to Azeri people in Iran, they say, no, we are Turkified Iranic peoples. I'm like, which one is it? I don't know. It's so complicated. But yeah, anyway, they speak a Turkic language at the very least. They are the largest ones. But after that, you have the Balkar and Karachay in the Kabardino-Balkaria and Karachay-Cherkessia republics of Russia. And then you have the Kumyk peoples found mostly in Dagestan and a little bit in Chechnya. Mostly Azerbaijani, a few in the Caucasus Mountains. And yeah, those are the Turkic peoples. They came in during Turkic Khaganate, and then later the Ottomans came in and blah, blah, blah. Everything got a little bit Turkified in certain areas. There you go. And finally, depending on how far you want to stretch the boundaries of what constitutes Caucasia, you have one Mongolic group, the Kalmyk peoples. Yes, they are cousins of the Mongolians and other Mongolic peoples like the Buryats and Oryats and all that other stuff. Basically, they migrated here during the 17th century as they were driven out by the expanding Qing Empire of China. And these Kalmyk people basically went all the way to the Volga River and then crossed it and then kind of settled their regions near the Caspian Sea. And today, Kalmykia is the furthest westernmost Mongolic peoples on Earth. And they are also the furthest westernmost Buddhist community on Earth as well. You can find Buddhist temples in Kalmykia. It's weird. It's like Russia, but then you see like Buddhist temples, and it's so, and they have a Kalmyk language, and they're trying to revive it because over the years, a lot of these Mongolic languages within the Russian Federation have been kind of suppressed and they've been dying out, and now they're trying to revive them. But yeah, it's so crazy when you find these like social migration patterns throughout the world, and I don't know, I find stuff like that so fascinating. But yeah, and fun fact, Kalmykia is inspired me to make my April Fool's video for Kitsikwaka. If you haven't seen that video, check it out. Kitsikwaka. I love saying that. Kitikwaka. So yeah, there you go. So basically, the Caucasus region is a conglomeration of God knows how many people groups, like over 50, from 4 major ethno-linguistic groups. They all have very distinct cultures and traditions. You can't even scratch the surface with this place. There's too much stuff going on, too many distinct, unique people groups. Maybe I should do like shorts on each of these. I don't know. It'd be kind of cool, wouldn't it? Yeah. But yeah, I just wanted to do this little overview to talk about Caucasia. Moral of the story, Caucasia is basically the Caucasus Mountains. No, it is not where white people came from, but it's a very fascinating place with like over 50 ethno-linguistic groups that all get mixed in together. I love this place. I've been to Armenia and Georgia. Definitely recommend visiting it if you can. I still have to go to Azerbaijan. I'm gonna make that happen this year. Anyway, I got a plate of kimbap waiting for me in the kitchen. I'm gonna head out now. Stay cool, stay tuned.